Hello YouTube, here we go. Thanks for watching this video. It's my first ever video on YouTube, but I wanted to start off, I didn't want to do like an introductory video because there's a lot of those, and quite frankly I don't think I'm individually interesting enough just yet to merit one of those. So I wanted to talk, give you something more interesting for the first video. So I want to talk about tarot, and specifically about my favorite deck, which is the Modern Spellcasters Tarot. And I hope that was backwards. Anyway, so specifically, it's a beautiful deck, and one of the cards that I really, when I was choosing a deck, for me this could really be like a modern classic tarot. I think it really could replace the Rider-Waite. I think it has everything. It's based on Rider-Waite, but it has it's a far more inclusive deck. There are like same-sex relationships in there. There are people of different races. I think that it just fits better, and a lot of the artwork is kind of being updated, or it's interesting in a new way, while also retaining a lot of the classic symbolism of the Rider-Waite myth. So when I was choosing a new deck that I wanted to be my primary deck, one of the cards that for me was really important is the High Priestess. So I looked through a lot of different decks, and High Priestess was a good one for me. Now I do have picture. I can take pictures of the cards, but I'm not sure I'm legally allowed to share them. So, but I do believe I'm allowed to hold them up. So this is the High Priestess card. Very intriguing, which I think is key to the meaning of the High Priestess. You've got a few awesome symbols here. For example, the fact that she has no face, which makes her a bit more mysterious, which has got a lot to do with it. For me, the High Priestess generally has like a kind of follow the white rabbit kind of vibe, where the High Priestess is the white rabbit, where it gives you more questions than answers, as any great teacher should. So it's almost like you're supposed to be inspired to go ahead and do the work and put the work in to find the answers for yourself, rather than just getting them from the High Priestess. Okay, so there's a few things here that really add to the mystery in this card in particular. The fact that she's got no face and looks like she's made out of some kind of stone, onyx or obsidian or something, a bit mysterious. There's a couple of things here. There's the fact that the pillars, of course, representing the pillars of the Temple of Solomon, the Boaz and Huachin, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In this case, they have different symbols, which I actually don't know the meaning of, which intrigues me. But I noticed that this one and this one are the same. And then you've got these three vertical lines and three horizontal lines over here. Look like they're made of like white and black marble on either side. So entrance to the temple, kind of a classic thing about the High Priestess, where of course this curtain behind her kind of obscures what's going on. You're not really sure what's happening behind, but you want to see. She like gives you a glimpse, but you're the one who actually has to put the work in to get past. There's also her Book of Mysteries here in particular. I've got a few things here. She's pointing to the four elemental symbols. Over here there's something that looks like the Wheel of Karma, which is going to come up in 1 second. There's the moon behind her, and I live in the southern hemisphere, so I get a bit confused if that's a waning or a waxing moon, but it is one of them. And she's got the triple moon goddess on her crown or her tiara, whatever it might be. So lots of mystery going on here. Like I mentioned, the curtain as well, there's pomegranates. Pomegranates being a sign of fertility and also abundance and generosity, but crucially femininity, and particularly feminine sexuality, which has remained a mystery for a lot of people, specifically men such as myself, for a long time. So there's a lot of things in here that kind of like are mysterious, or want you to investigate more. But there's one symbol here in particular that I haven't seen on any other High Priestesses. There's a baby sitting here. So there's a few things. There's a baby, kind of looks like she's or he or she, I'll say she is in some kind of manger. What's that about? Why is this baby, and why does the baby look kind of terrified? I think that was maybe incidental, but I wanted to like figure out what's going on with this baby. And in the book here, it doesn't really go into the particular. It's a good book. It goes into quite a lot of detail about the different cards and everything, and gives you meanings and reverse meanings, and uses it in magic as well. It's a really well written book, but it doesn't go into specific detail to a lot of these individual symbols. So that's what I want to look in today. What's up with the baby? Okay, so I looked through the whole deck for possible candidates for reappearance of the baby, and there are a couple that are pretty clear, but I'll go through the ones that aren't so clear first. We've got the entire royal family in the Pentacles suit. They're all wearing green clothes, which says to me that, and also the kind of straw here looks kind of golden as well. So there's a couple, maybe could be a thing there. Also the thing about like the baby in a manger, Jesus Christ being like a king, being born, and also being like taught. There's Alexander the Great was taught by Aristotle, I think, one of the great Greek philosophers, this idea of great teachers bringing up royalty. So I think that could be here. It's kind of a tenuous link, but there is something there. The Fool as well is wearing green clothes, kind of king in his own right. There's also pretty thing here, again pretty tenuous here. But this figure here looks actually more like the Empress, which I'll bring up in a second. But it's green. There's also the moon thing here, kind of linking back to the High Priestess. Possible this guy doesn't have a face. Could be a kind of counterpart of the High Priestess. In this case, you've got the Eye of Providence right here, and then BB, which I couldn't find out what that means either. Okay, then throughout, again, the Suit of Pentacles, the Two of Pentacles, the Four, these guys are wearing green clothes, and kind of look like they could be, but I don't think they are supposed to be the same person. Now, there are some other things that are quite, have a stronger claim. For me, the one that has the strongest is this woman on Justice here, and there are a number of similarities here. First of all, the fact that if you've got the two pillars, quite an obvious one. On Justice, there's a figure, one of them looks like he's working a harvest. These could be deities, I'm not entirely sure, I couldn't find anything in the book. Deity of the harvest of some kind, and this one kind of reminds me of the assassins that went after Julius Caesar, but something here is, and also because there's skulls at the bottom here, it seems to be in the same kind of place here, but in this case it's day behind her and night behind her here. There's also that she does have a pomegranate here, which seems to have a Vesica Pisces in the middle. It's not really focusing there, but there seems to be a Vesica Pisces on the pomegranate. There's also, she's got a straw, the Vesica Pisces being like a feminine symbol, union of two things, and the shape in there is quite a feminine symbol as well. I forgot what it's called. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so there's also, she's got a straw belt here, relating here, the fact that she's got the Wheel of Karma above her head, and the Wheel of Karma is in this book that the High Priestess was like reading or teaching the baby. So that does make it quite a strong case for me there. So what would that mean then if this was the same one as here? So for me, there's a few things that Justice, of course, to do with balance. Being card 11, by the way, 1 + 1 is 2, of course, High Priestess, another link there. A lot to do with balance, of course. There's, in fact, the Justice, Justice, Lady Justice, Justice Blind, all that stuff. Just like balancing, going back to ancient Egypt, weighing the heart after death to check if someone's worthy of the afterlife. Not so hot on if it was more of a heaven-hell thing, or it was judging the worth, essentially, of the person after death. So how come, what's the journey here? Definitely something's been passed on with this Wheel of Karma. Some important rules of the universe and rules of life have been passed on from this great teacher to this baby who has now grown up. And I would say, for example, that you've got this, that the curtain has been pulled back, or that this woman has done the work to pull the curtain back. She's got a pomegranate, so she has been paying attention. Now she's on the other side. There's also the note that these pillars are the other way, so could be on the other way, looking from the other side. So it's almost, if you confront the High Priestess and you take on her lessons and do the homework that she wants you to do, then you will be allowed to pass. And it could even be that these pomegranates become real pomegranates. That's one of the lessons, is that if you look at something and you think, I want that, and if you really consider it, then you'll realize that you do have it, or that it is, of course, attainable without overruling or overriding any laws of nature, or doing anything unfair, justice and all this kind of thing. So very strong case, very interesting that these two, the way that they counteract. So that's definitely a strong tie. There's something about this being like a white rabbit. Follow the white rabbit, pay attention, adopt a child's mind, curiosity, beginner's mind, all this kind of thing. And you can get to the other side and stand proud and tall, having learned that balance, which is something that's important. And me, of course, putting myself so strongly on the right-hand path of white magic is something that I'm actually not really so good on, is adopting balance. But I do try to bring in balance, more kind of let's say, things that are related more to left-hand path, like power and all this kind of stuff. I bring that in other ways, not just not in my arcane practices. So there is one more. This is the Empress as well. She's got pomegranates on her dress. There's some kind of straw around here. I don't think that it's such a strong link, but I think that's more linked to the person in the Hierophant, because her skin is green rather than her clothes. Could though represent the next evolution. Maybe this is more of a cocoon, and the person, this woman, has been in the cocoon and is like understanding life and is really becoming that cocoon. And of course, that's a really good way for you to bust out of your comfort zone or anything, is to really embody, is to like really identify with that limit so that you can then change it. Mutate. That's not what I'm looking for. The word in alchemy, which I can't think of. Transmute. There we go. Okay, and there's one other thing in this card. Now, this is the Three of Wands. So in here, in the talons of this bird, there is what looks like the same thing as this baby, which I thought was very interesting, because in the wands, all the other ones that look similar were either major arcana or they were in the sort of pentacles. So you've got here, wands in this deck are related to the air element. That's why there are birds here. 3 being a great number of manifestation, of course, ruled by the Empress, which I thought was interesting. You've got, looks like a falcon or something here. But this one's actually an owl, which is very interesting. That owl, of course, representing wisdom classically, got a lot to do with the High Priestess. So I thought that was very interesting. So what's going on here? This woman is letting this bird of prey head off and is like allowing this wise owl to drop something else on her plate, which is something that happens. And in a sense, at the High Priestess, there's a degree of trust there as well for me, that it's about following your intuition and following your interest to get to the gold, to really put in, to be led on enough to want to do that work, and it's so that for it not to be a chore and everything. And this is very interesting. It's like maybe this baby is being dropped on this woman who's like all in air. She's all about like her intellect and all these kind of things. She's like, okay, new ideas. Well, how's this for a new idea? You've got a baby to look after, a whole new role to take on. And it could be that that's what unlocks, being open to these changes that the universe can bring into your life and really embody them like a cocoon, like I just said a second ago. Really own it, and let yourself just be taken up by that and identify with it and then convert it. In the same like Aikido, there's a martial art that does that as well. Blend with the attacker and then resolve it in a way that you want, because it's you who's resolving it, because you've become one with the attacker. So a little bit about the baby there. What's with the baby? That's what I'm going to call this video. And this was my first ever video on YouTube, and now I've got the embarrassing part of the way. I'm sure I'll do more of these. So thank you, and well, I'm sure by the time someone sees this, there'll be other videos. Cheers.